This delicious and super easy one crust pot pie recipe is the ultimate in comfort food, but also delicious enough to serve for a dinner gathering. This is the best way we know to use up leftover turkey or chicken, and we know you and your family are going to love it.
Welcome back to Two Peas in the Kitchen. So we're going to get started on our turkey pot pie. This is a great use for leftover turkey or chicken. You can use obviously chicken. So we're going to end up using 4 cups of that. But first, what we're going to do is make sure you preheat your oven to 425 degrees before you get started. And the first thing we're going to do is make our pie crust. If you don't want to make your own pie crust, it's perfectly fine to buy just regular pie crust. A pie crust ball. Don't buy the actual pies, pre-made pie crust. You'll want to roll it out. But it's easy enough to make it, and I'll show you exactly how to make it. So I just have a food processor here. I have the metal blade, and I added 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to spoon it into the measuring cup and level it off. And then add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Then all we have left to add is cold butter. So we have 2 sticks of cold butter. And in the meantime, before I show you how to prepare the butter, make sure, what I like to do is just get a measuring cup, this is a 1 cup measuring cup, and I added ice and filled it up with water and let it sit. You want ice cold water to make this. It'll make it easier for the dough to roll out and so that the butter doesn't melt. So let me show you now how to prepare your butter. So you want to use cold butter. We're going to use 2 sticks of cold butter. These are right from the fridge. And I'm going to first cut them up into cubes. This is just my method that I use. If you learned another way, go ahead and do that. This is just how I make it. So again, take the butter out of the fridge right before you need it. You don't want to let it sit out and get warm. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it lengthwise. Go here. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. Just go lengthwise like that. Move it over. And then lengthwise again. And then I just like to cut cubes, just like this. And it's going to go right into the food processor. Then I'll do my second stick. Okay, so here's the second stick. I'm going to put it right in. And then next, we're going to put the top right on. Make sure it's locked so you don't get flour all over the place. And I'm just going to pulse it a couple times so that you don't see the butter on top anymore. So 2 or 3 times. That's good. That's all you want for now. And next we add our water. This is the last step. So we only need 1/2 cup. So we want 1/2 cup of ice cold water. So I'm just going to, first I like to spoon out the ice and then pour out any of the excess water. Okay, so now I have 1/2 cup of ice cold water, and I'm just going to remove this little cylinder here, pour it right in, and I'm going to pulse it until the dough is clumpy, but you don't want it to form into one big ball. You'll see what the texture looks like, and then we're going to wrap it in a plastic wrap and put it right in the refrigerator while we continue with the rest of it. So it's going to go right in here. And then I'm just going to keep pulsing. And you will see that it'll start to get a little clumpy. And I'll open the top to show you when it's done. Okay, so I think it's done. So you can see it's nice, it's clumpy, but it didn't form a big ball. I'm going to dump it right on a piece of plastic wrap and wrap it up into a ball and stick it in the refrigerator. So let's do that. Okay, so I have a piece of plastic wrap here, and I'm going to carefully dump this right on. Be careful with the metal blade. And then I'm just going to gently form it into a ball. Doesn't have to be perfect at all. Just press it into a nice ball, wrap it up, and it's going to go in the refrigerator while we work on the rest of the pot pie. So this will solidify and then we're going to roll it out last. We'll show you how that looks. Okay, so part of the reason I love this recipe is because it really simplifies things, because you can use your leftover turkey or chicken, and then this also uses some frozen vegetables. So we have 2 cups of frozen green beans, and then 2 cups of frozen pea and carrot mixture. Some of the mixtures come with the chunks of carrots. If you prefer that, that's fine too. Then we have 1 cup of fresh celery. So what we're going to do now, I don't need a pot this big, but we're going to use this for the rest of it. So I just want to stick with 1 pot to keep it easy. So I'm just going to pour all of the vegetables inside of the pot and add just enough water to cover the vegetables. And then you're going to boil it until the celery is tender. So maybe a couple minutes or so, not much really longer than that. And then go ahead and strain the veggies and you can set them aside. Then we'll proceed with the same pot to the next steps. Really? Okay. Okay, so I have my veggies draining in a colander now. And we have, this is 2/3 of a cup of butter. I'm just using the same pot. And let the butter melt. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of chopped onions once the butter is melted, and cook it until the onions are translucent. Okay, I forgot to mention this is about medium heat. So next I'm going to add 2/3 cup of flour. This is just all-purpose flour. This will help thicken up the interior of the turkey or chicken pot pie. So I'm going to add the flour, mix it in. I'm just going to use the same spoon. Mix it in until it's incorporated, and then I'm going to add a bunch of different herbs into this. So we have some salt and pepper. So this is a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. And then we have 1/2 teaspoon of celery seed, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. In you go. And I'm just going to stir this until it's incorporated. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a whisk. And I'm going to whisk in 1 3/4 cup of chicken broth. And I just used hot water and better than bouillon. Or you can use, if you have fresh chicken stock, you can go ahead and use that. And then also whisk in, along with the 1 3/4 cups of chicken broth, we're going to add 1 1/3 cups of whole milk. And you're going to whisk it until it thickens up a little bit, and then take it off of the heat. So here's our 1 3/4 cups of chicken broth first. And then we have 1 1/3 cups of whole milk. So you'll want to heat this up until it simmers and it starts to thicken. You don't want it too thick, but you want to start to thicken it, and then you're going to just turn it off. So I'm actually going to take the whisk, but it does have to heat up a little bit first, so just watch it. Don't go anywhere. Once this starts going, it'll really start going, so you don't want to boil it over. Okay, so this came to a simmer, and you can see that it's thickened up, so I'm going to turn the heat right off. All right, now, so I turned the heat off. We're going to add our vegetables that we drained all the liquids out of the colander. And then I'm also going to add, we have 4 cups of leftover chicken. Oops. And then after the vegetables, I'm going to add 4 cups of leftover turkey from Thanksgiving, or you can use chicken, of course. Add it right to the pot. And again, the heat is off at this point. And I'm just going to give everything a nice stir until everything is all mixed up together. And then you're just going to cover it and leave it aside while we roll out the pie dough. And I'll show you how to do that next. Okay, so next I'm just going to use, you can use butter as well if you want. I'm just going to use this avocado spray, and I'm going to coat the inside so that the filling doesn't stick. Now, I'm actually going to use this enameled pan, but you can also use a regular Pyrex. This is 9.5 by 13 Pyrex. This one is just a little bit longer and it's a little bit deeper. That's why I like it, but this will work just fine. All right, now we're going to roll out the pie crust dough, and I wanted to show you up close here real quick. You can see the chunks of butter, and that's what you want. That's why you don't want to overprocess it, because you want the little chunks of cold butter, and that's what expands and gives you the nice flaky crust. Okay, so now I'm going to roll it out. I'm just going to go ahead and do it right on my counter here. And so this is actually a double pie crust recipe. So if you're making, for example, this would be good for 2 pumpkin pies. So good for 2 pie shells, but we're going to use the entire thing. So if you have a double pie crust recipe that you like, you can just use the entire thing. And we're going to roll it out. And I'm going to use this marble roller just so it stays cold and it doesn't stick. I don't really have any fancy methods for this. I just kind of roll it out here. Now you do want it rectangular shaped. So keep going. And then what I like to do, just to make sure that you have the right size, is once you're done, I'm just going to use this to measure it out. It should cover about the entire thing. You can have it a little bit smaller, and then you can just put the filling in and then put the rolled out pie crust right on top. All right, so I've rolled it out, and what I like to use one of these dough scrapers to just kind of have, a nice even edge. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. And like I mentioned, you can just overturn it. This is about the size that you want. It's going to go in here though, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So, and then we're also going to use this plastic dough scraper to get it off of the counter here so that we can put it in here. So now I sprayed some avocado oil. You can use butter if you want as well. And we're going to go ahead and put our filling in. Okay, so I put the filling right in the pan. I'm just going to even it out. Make sure it's evenly covering the bottom of the pan. And that avocado oil or butter will prevent it from sticking. So, all right, I think we're good there. And now we have to peel this off of here. It's not as scary as it seems, I don't think. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just going to loosen it up here with this plastic peeler or plastic peel. Get it loose. And I'm just going to place it, plop it, there you go, right on top. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I wash my hands. You can pull it off a little bit here. This one kind of bent over. There we go. And then there we go. All right. So after you have the pie crust dough, okay, so what we have here, this is just 1 egg with a tiny bit of water, maybe, I didn't even measure, maybe a teaspoon of water and a pinch of salt. Whisk it up, and then I'm just going to use this brush, and I'm going to brush it right over the pie crust to cover the entire pie crust. And then after that's done, you're not going to use this whole amount. Just cover the surface. Then after that, I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to poke a bunch of little slits all over the top of the pie crust here. And the reason we do that is so the steam can escape and it's not going to bubble over or, get huge bubbles in the pie crust and have a malformed turkey pot pie casserole here. So I think this is good here. Now this will give the color of, this will give the crust a nice, beautiful golden color. And next, I'm just gonna poke a bunch of holes. You don't have to be methodical, but just go all over so that the steam can escape. And that's all. So now we're going to put it in our preheated 425-degree oven for about 45 minutes or so, but check on it. I know all ovens are different, if they've been calibrated or not. Some are quicker than others, but you want the top of the crust to be nice and golden brown. So 40, 45 minutes, and then you're going to take it out and let it rest, cover it, let it rest for about 10 minutes or so to allow it to settle, and so that you can actually cut it. So we'll show you what that looks like when it's all done.
As you can see, this pot pie is absolutely beautiful inside. It is an amazing comfort dish and it is our favorite way to use up leftover turkey from Christmas or Thanksgiving. We hope you'll enjoy it as much as we do. See you next time.